Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Charitāmrita overview class. Thank you for joining in. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimrandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानो सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, we are discussing from Chaitanya Charitāmrita Adi Leela. We are on chapter 11, the expansions of Lord Nithyananda. So after describing the branches of Chaitanya tree, Kaviraj Goswami is going to describe another branch. The two main branches of Chaitanya tree are Nityanand Prabhu and Advaita Acharya. So first he described in the 10th chapter various branches and sub-branches of the Chaitanya tree, and then in this 11th chapter he's describing the various devotees of Nityanand Prabhu. And in this chapter we heard how Kaviraj Goswami compares all the devotees of Lord to honeybees who are tasting the nectar of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. And whoever takes shelter of the devotee of Lord Nityananda, he is the most fortunate personality. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Tahara Charanashrita Saibhrada Dhanya. So anybody who takes shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, he is the most fortunate one. And then Kaviraj Goswami describes the various devotees of Lord Nityananda. And so far we have discussed till verse number 25. And we'll continue from the further verses in which Kaviraj Goswami is continuing the description of another very great devotee, that is Gauridas Pandit. So we have heard till 24th verse, where 25th verse, where Kaviraj Goswami describes Suryadas Sarkhela and Krishnadas Sarkhela. So Suryadas Sarkhela, he is the father-in-law. So he had two daughters, Vasudha and Janava Devi. So both were married to Nityanand Prabhu. So this Suryadas Sarkhela, he had a younger brother, and his name was Gauridas Pandit. So Gauridas Pandit, he was a very, very great devotee. Just a minute. Okay. So this Gauridas Pandit, he was another very great devotee, and he was such a great personality that he had the potency to deliver Krishna to anyone and everyone. He was another Gopal from Krishna Lila. His name is Subal, And this Gauridas Pandit, he's not a younger brother of Krishna. Yeah, he's the younger brother of Suryadas Sarkhela. And sorry, I'm just a minute. Yeah, sure. So Suryadas Sarkhela, he had his younger brother Krishnadas Sarkhela, and Krishnadas, he had patronized this person whose name was Gauridas Pandit. He was another great personality, and he was absorbed in love of God. He was a great devotee of Lord Nithyananda, and whoever he would meet, he could give that love of God to that personality. That was the power of this devotee Gauridas Pandit. And this Gauridas Pandit, he had such an intimate affection because he was the cowherd boy from Krishna Leela. So he had natural affection as a friend. He was in Sakhya Bhava. So one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu, they came to visit Gauridas Pandit, and they were traveling and preaching. So Gauridas Pandit, he told that you please stay with me for some time. I want to cook for you. I want to feed you. So after spending some time, Nithyananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were leaving. So Gauridas Pandit said, I cannot live without you. Please stay with me, because he was in the bhav of Subal. So he was pleading, please stay with me. But Gaur Nitai, Nithyananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, we cannot stay with you. We have our preaching mission. If we just stay in one place for you, others will suffer. Others will not get the benefit of our association. They will not get love of God. So he was pleading, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu, they have come to spread the holy names of the Lord. So therefore, he was they were thinking that we cannot stay in one place. But Gauridas Pandit, he was crying. He was heartbroken. He was crying tears. And he was again and again pleading, please stay, please stay. So seeing this situation of Gauridas Pandit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to a nearby neem tree and he brought a log of neem tree, and he personally, with his own hands, he carved the deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his own deity and Nithyananda Prabhu's deity. And then exactly the same proportion, life-size deities. And Mahaprabhu told Gauridas Pandit that please worship these Gaur Nitai. They are non-different than us. And then they were leaving. So Gauridas Pandit, devotees are very intelligent. So he said, if you are non-different than these deities, then let the deities go and you stay. So Nithyananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were also no less. So with their arms raised, they stayed, and the deities, the wooden deities, started walking off. So Gauridas Pandit, he was confused seeing this. He chased after the murtis, thinking that they were the actual forms of the Lord. And he said, no, you cannot go. Let these deities, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nithyananda Prabhu, they had become deities. Or let these deities go, you both stay. So, this went on for many times, and then he said, okay, the deities stopped, and then the original Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu, they had become the deities, they again started walking. Then Gauridas Pandit again became confused. And he stopped them, and then it went on for many times, again and again. And ultimately, Gauridas Pandit, he became so confused. He said, oh my Lord, I am your eternal servant. Please do whatever you want, whatever you desire. I cannot decide. So then seeing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu, they again blessed Gauridas Pandit. They said, you please worship these deities, and then they left. So this Gauridas Pandit, he was in the mood of a friend. He was in the Sakhya Bhav, Subal. So he would sometimes chastise the deities. He would personally make bhoga for them, and he would offer the bhoga to the deities, and with a stick in his hand, he would stand and he would tell, you have to eat everything you eat. And unless he saw with his own eyes that deities have eaten everything, he would not move. That was the love he had for Gaur Nitai. So the deities, they would say, Arey, we accept with our glands everything. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. Oh, we eat with our eyes. There is no need for us to, eat like ordinary people. He said, that's all right, but now you eat. So he would chastise the deities that I don't want to hear all this philosophy. You eat. And the deities would eat. Gaur Nitai in the deity form, they would eat. That was the love of Gauridas Pandit for Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu. And in this way, throughout his life, he worshipped his deities with love and affection. With his own hands, every day he would worship them, feed them. And those same deities are still there in Ambika Kalna. Very beautiful deities. So throughout the life he was serving, and then he became old. He had one disciple. His name was Krishnadas. So this Krishnadas, he was assisting Gauridas Pandit. One time, Gauridas Pandit, he was arranging for a big Gaur Purnima festival. And he told his disciple Krishnadas that I'm just going out for something. I'll come back in some time. In between, you just take care of few things. And when Gauridas Pandit left, this Krishnadas, he was waiting, and Gauridas Pandit didn't return for a long time. So Krishnadas, he was thinking, oh, it is getting late, we should at least send the invitations. So he sent invitations to all the devotees, and he made all the preparations. And by the time Gauridas Pandit returned, and seeing all these preparations, and he saw that the invitations are already sent without his permission, he became so angry. He chastised Krishnadas, and he sent him away. And this Krishnadas, he became very sad because he wanted to participate in this Gaur Purnima festival. So he thought, okay, anyways, I want to participate in Gaur Purnima festival. I will celebrate my own festival. So he started arranging for another festival on the bank of Ganga. And Gauridas Pandit was still making some arrangements, and this Krishnadas, he was very quick. He made all the arrangements, and he again sent invitations on his behalf. And then the celebration started at his place on the bank of Ganga. And devotees from all over the Bengal, all over Navdeep, they started coming there. And when devotees appear together, they come together, what happens is wonderful kirtan. And wherever kirtan happens, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nithyananda Prabhu comes personally. So these Gaur Nitai at the place of Gauridas Pandit, they were hearing the kirtan. And tumultuous kirtan, people were dancing in ecstasy, all the devotees. So they could not stay there. So they jumped off the altar and they ran towards this place where Krishnadas was celebrating the Gaur Purnima festival. And everybody could see Gaur Nitai dancing. And by the time Gauridas Pandit, he was away doing some arrangements for the festival, and then he came back. He prepared bhoga for the deities, and then he went to open the altar, and when he opened the altar, he saw deities are not there. He was surprised. Then somebody came and told, oh, Gaur Nitai, they are dancing in the Gaur Purnima festival of Krishnadas. And this Gauridas Pandit, he became so angry. He took a stick and he ran to the place where Gaur Nitai, they were dancing, because he wanted to, feed them. So then this Krishnadas, when this Gaur Nitai, they saw that Krishnadas, this Gauridas Pandit is coming with stick in his hand. So they had no place to go because on one side Ganga was there and other side Gauridas Pandit was approaching. So where to go? So they both jumped inside the heart of Gauridas Pandit. And when they jumped inside the heart of Krishnadas. And when Gauridas Pandit saw this, he became so very amazed. Then he realized the glories of his own disciple, Krishnadas. And he embraced Krishnadas. And then, of course, Gaurnitai, they came back to the altar, and that's how Gauridas Pandit continued serving. So the same deities are still there. And even if you go today to Ambika Kalna, the pujari is there. They don't open the darshan for long. They call it jhalak darshan. The darshan is open only for a few seconds and they again close it. Again open, again close it. Because they are fearful if somebody starts doing kirtan again, the deities will go with them. So that is the wonderful pastime of Ambika Kalna. So Krishna, he's so wonderful that he becomes subordinate to the love of devotees. For his devotees, he is ready to eat prasad, eat bhoga. He is ready to, be fearful of the stick of Gauridas Pandit, just like Yashoda Mai, Rudantam Muhuranetram Yugmam Rijantam Karam Bhuja Yugamena Satanka Netram Muhushwasakam Patri Rekhanka Kantha Sthitagraivam Damodaram Bhaktibaddham. So Krishna becomes bound by the love of devotees. That supreme personality who can create fear in fear personified. He is fearful of a devotee and running away. Madbhayad vati vatoyam suryastapati madbhayat varshati indro dahati agni mrityuscharati madbhayat. Out of fear of Krishna, wind is blowing, sun is rising, everything is happening, the death is coming. But that same personality is fearful of ordinary cowherd lady Yashoda, ordinary devotee Gauridas Pandit. Kunti Maharani also prays in her beautiful prayers. She is remembering how Yashoda Mai, when he was having a stick in her hand, Krishna was running out of fear. Gopya dade tvai krita gasidam tavad yate dashashrukalila sambhramaksham vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti. So Kunti Maharani is thinking, it is so very bewildering. Bhairapiyad bibheti, the fear personified fears him and he is fearful of a small stick in the hand of a ordinary, not an ordinary, but a simple cowherd lady. That is Krishna. So therefore, because these deities, they entered the heart of Krishnadas from that day on, Gauridas named him Hriday Caitanya. And that's how he became famous. Then after Gauridas Pandit, Hriday Caitanya, he would take care of the deities. And the same temple of Gaur is still existing in Ambika Kalna. And if you go to this temple, even today you will find a handwritten manuscript of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which he has written on Bhagavad Gita, some part of Bhagavad Gita which Mahaprabhu has written with his own hand. They say that is still, the same copy is still there. So that is Gauridas Pandit. Then another devotee was Pandit Purandar. He is the 13th branch, and Kaviraj Goswami writes beautifully. He writes that he moved in the ocean of love of God, just like Mandar Hill. Just like Mandar Hill was moving in the ocean of milk, churning the milk ocean, bringing out the jewels, various beautiful, wonderful things. Similarly, this Pandit Purandar, He was churning this ocean of love of God, and so many wonderful ecstasies they were coming out. And this Pandit Purandar, he was none other than Angada, the son of Vali, who assisted Lord Ram in his pastimes. So that's how one time when Nithyananda Prabhu, he was uh, doing Sankirtan, this Pandit Purandar, he was there on the top of a tree having the darshan of Nithyananda Prabhu dancing, and he went into such an ecstasy that he jumped off the tree, and that time he proclaimed himself to be Angada. So that is Pandit Purandar. Then another devotee is Parameshwar Das. He is the fifth Gopal Arjun, and he is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. And Kaviraj Goswami writes that anyone who even remembers the name of Parameshwar Das, he will get love of God. So all these benedictions, they may look very extraordinary, and it may look like they are very, too far out, exaggerations. But actually, if we have faith, it will happen. But many times with our logical, mundane logical intelligence, we question the mercy of the Lord. We question the power of the devotees of the Lord. Brahmanda tarite shakti dhare jane jane, ei veda purane guna gaye jeva shune. So Devakinandan Das Thakur is saying that every devotee of Lord Chaitanya, they have the power to deliver the entire universe. So that is how anybody who just hears the name of Parameshwar Das, he'll get love of God. Bhagavatam is full of such glorifications of the devotees. Just by hearing, remembering, Yesham samsmaranat pumsam sadyo shuddhyanti vaigrihat kim punar darshan sparsha padashauchashanadibi. Yesham, just by remembering the devotees, Yesham samsmaranat sadyo, quickly one becomes free of all the sins. Entire family becomes purified. What to speak of Kim punar darshan sparsha? If somebody gets a chance to have darshan, touch the lotus feet of the devotees and have the water which has washed the lotus feet of the devotees and put on the head, what to speak of the fortune of that person? So that was Parameshwar Das. Just by remembering his name, one gets love of God. So Prabhupada describes some of the details about Parameshwar Das. He was also called as Parameshwari Das. And for him, Nityananda Prabhu was his life and soul. And he was always in the mood of a cowherd boy because he was Arjuna. And when Janava Devi, she celebrated this famous Kheturi festival, he was also there, accompanied her. And he made some arrangements in that Kheturi festival. Then the 15th branch of Nityananda Prabhu's 15th branch of Nityananda Prabhu is another devotee named as Jaghdish Pandit. And Jaghdish Pandit, it is described there that he was the deliverer of entire world. And devotional love of Krishna showered from him like torrents. So hearing such descriptions, we should understand the power of a devotee. What all devotees can give us, only if we have that faith. So that's how entire Bhagavatam, entire Chaitanya Caritāmrta is full of descriptions of such wonderful devotees. And it is not that, oh, ye to purane zamane ke devotee the, now they are not so powerful devotees. It depends on our consciousness. Because who knows who is at what level? Because still till today, even now, Mahaprabhu's mercy is flowing. And Srila Prabhupada, by his own life, he has shown the whole world that within a short span of time, he has made such wonderful devotees, so many pure devotees. They are all sent by Krishna, sent by Mahaprabhu to assist the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. So that's how we have to understand that, as Kaviraj Goswami says, there are two types of pure devotees. A Nitya Siddha is a pure devotee, and a practicing sadhaka is a potentially pure devotee. We should never ever think, "Arey, ye to naya devotee." Just a matter of time. Therefore, we should really respect and have all the gratitude for each and every devotee who is around us. They are very rare souls. In 5th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a description that even Devatas, they want to take birth in India, in Kali Yuga. Why? Because in Kali Yuga, there are so many pure devotees of the Lord at one place. And this is not an exaggeration. This is a statement from Bhagavatam. Exact words. Shukadeva Goswami tells that there are so many pure devotees of the Lord in one place in Kali Yuga. You don't find that in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga. There are pure devotees doing tapasya somewhere in the forest or in some ekanta place, solitary place. But in Kali Yuga, so many pure devotees you will find at one place. That is the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's how all these descriptions should make us more and more grateful. Our gratitude for the association of devotees should increase here when we hear such descriptions. Just by hearing the name, one gets purified. Oh, you can shower the devotional rain like devotional love like rain. That's all amazing. That's why we have to keep reminding ourselves that what we are receiving is unimaginable thing. The 16th servant of Lord Chaitanya was Dhananjay Pandit. He was the 6th Gopal. His name was Vasudam. And he was very renounced and he was always merged in love of God, love of Krishna. Then there was another devotee called Mahesh Pandit. He was 7th Gopal. His name is not mentioned. Who is that Gopal? He is a very, very liberal personality, and whenever he would dance, he would beat his kettle drum like a madman. Then Purushottam Pandit, he was another 8th Gopal. His name was Stoka Krishna, another very wonderful devotee, Stoka Krishna. And his peculiar characteristic was, as soon as he would hear the name of Nithyananda Prabhu, he would go mad. So that's how we have to understand that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nithyananda's names are potent enough to give us love of God. And that's what all these devotees, they are manifesting, they are showing by their wonderful pastimes. Just by hearing the name, he would go into ecstasy, he would go mad. Just like it is described about this devotee. Mahaprabhu sent this personality, Gadadhar Pandit, to Vrishabhanu. He appeared in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. I'm forgetting the name. So, and when Gadadhar Pandit went there, he saw that this personality, anybody is remembering the name? Just not coming. When he saw this personality, he was, so very opulent, and when he was eating pan, and so many servants were there, and he would just to spit, somebody would get golden, bowl. So Gadadhar Pandit, he was thinking, what type of great devotee he is? Why Mahaprabhu has sent me to meet this personality? And then another devotee, he understood that Gadadhar Pandit is judging this personality. He started reciting the verses from Bhagavatam. And this personality, he went into ecstasy. So that's how we can never judge from externals who is this personality. So just like this person, Purushottam Pandit, he would go mad. hearing the name of Lord Nithyananda. He was Toka Krishna. Then another devotee, his name was Balaram Das. He was always tasting the nectar of love of God, love of Krishna, and just like this Purushottam Pandit, he would go in ecstasy hearing the name of Nityananda Prabhu. Balram Das also was the same personality. He would also be going into ecstasy, always mad, behaving like a madman. And then there were other personalities: Yadunath, Kavichandra, Krishnadas, Brahmana, then Kal Krishnadas or Kalia Krishnadas. He is the ninth Gopal, Kalia Krishnadas. So that is how it is described. Then there is another personality. His name was Sadashiv Pandit, and he was famous Chandravali Gopi, who appeared as Sadashiv Pandit. And then there was another personality. So all the family members of Sadashiv Pandit, they were all great devotees. Then there was another personality, Purushottam Das. He was the 10th Gopal, and Purushottam Das, he was son of this Sadashiv Kaviraj. So Sadashiv, he was the Chandravali Gopi, and then his son Purushottam Das, he was another Gopal, the 10th Gopal who appeared there. Then another very wonderful personality was Kanu Thakur. So Kanu Thakur, he was son of Purushottam Das, and Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he describes some of the details of this Kanu Thakur. So this Kanu Thakur was another Gopal called Dama, and this Dama Gopa is not one of the 12 Gopals, but he is another Gopa, Dama Gopa. And just after his birth, his mother died. So Nityanand Prabhu personally took care of this small child. He brought him to his home when he was just 12 days old. And Nityanand Prabhu personally took care of him. He took him to his home at Kardaha, and there he was taking care of this small child very nicely. And it is said that this Kanu Thakur, he took birth on the Rath Yatra day. So because this Kanu Thakur, he was, Nityanand Prabhu could understand that he was such a great devotee. So he gave him the name Kanai Thakur. So that is the glory of this Kanu Thakur or Kanai Thakur. Not Nityanand Prabhu. When this Kanu Thakur, he was being taken to Vrindavan, Janava Devi took Kanu Thakur to Vrindavan. And there, when these Goswamis, they saw this small child Kanu Thakur when he was just 5 years old, he was exhibiting such symptoms of ecstasy. And seeing the symptoms of ecstasy of this small child, the Goswamis, they named him Kanai Thakur. So when Janava Devi, she organized this Kheturi festival, this Kanu Thakur or Kanai Thakur was also there. Then there is another devotee, his name is Uddharan Datta or Uddharan Datta. He's the 11th Gopal, his name is Subahu. And this Subahu, he was the resident of Saptagram or Adi Saptagram. So Saptagram, as the name suggests, there were 7 villages and they combined to form a very big town. So Srila Prabhupada writes in detail about what is this town all about. Where is this Saptagram? So Kaviraj Goswami starts the description by telling that, Calcutta, under the British rule, it was full of various influential mercantile community. And this community, especially, they were known as Suvarna Malik community. So they all came from this Saptagram. So from this Saptagram, all the Suvarna Malik community, they had moved to Calcutta and they established their homes in Calcutta. So therefore, these Suvarna Maliks, they were also known as Saptagrami Suvarna Maliks. Saptagrami mercantile community. So that is how this the mercantile community of Calcutta was. And then Prabhupada writes there are two branches of this Saptagrami mercantile community, Maliks and Seal. Malik family and Seal family. So in this Malik family, there were another two branches, Seal and Day. So Prabhupada writes, we belong to that Day family. So that's how Prabhupada is giving his own family lineage, that how he is connected to the Adi Saptagram, and the people who moved from Adi Saptagram, they are the Day merchants, Seal and Day. And he writes that Chaitanya Bhagavat describes in detail about this Uddharan Dutt Thakur. Uddharan Dutt, he was a very great liberal Vaishnava, and for him, Nithyananda Prabhu was his everything. He was born with the right to worship Nithyananda Prabhu. That's how Chaitanya Bhagavat describes him. He was born with the right to worship Nithyananda Prabhu. And Nithyananda Prabhu, he was staying, Nithyananda Prabhu was staying for some time in Kardaha. And then after staying in Kardaha for some time, he came to Saptagram and he stayed at the house of Uddharan Dutt Thakur. Then again, Prabhupada describes some more details about the Suvarna Malik community. So Prabhupada writes that Suvarna Malik, they were actually Vaishnava community. They were Vaishnavas. But there was a misunderstanding which happened between two personalities. The local king, his name was Ballal Sen, and the Suvarna Vanik family. They were gold merchants. Suvarna Vanik. Suvarna means golden and Vanik means merchant. So one of the Suvarna Vanik merchants, his name was Gauri Sen. And this Gauri Sen, he was giving lots of money to this king. But this king, Ballal Sen, he was, spending all the money in sense gratification. He was very extravagant. So seeing this, Gauri Sen, he stopped supplying him money, and Ballal Sen, he became very angry. And he instigated all the local Brahmanas and he ostracized the Suvarna Vanik community. And therefore, from then on, they were not given this Brahminical title. They became lower class, low caste. But then by mercy of Nithyananda Prabhu, they were again elevated to a higher position. So that is about the Swarna Vanik community Srila Prabhupada describes. And then he says in Adi Saptagram, in this Saptagram village, till today you will find a six-armed deity of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Shadbhuj Gauranga, which was personally worshipped by Uddharan Dutt Thakur. And then on the right of this deity you will find Nithyananda Prabhu, and the left you will find Jaghdish Pandit. And then Prabhupada remembers his days when he entered India in 1967 with his few of his American disciples. Prabhupada writes that, we had gone to this place with our American disciples. And all the devotees, they liked this place very much. And then Prabhupada writes about some of the history of this temple also. So in Chaitanya Caritāmrta, Prabhupada is very, very personal. Very personal. And he takes care of, so many details. So yeah, I remembered this personality, Jaghdish Pandit, he took shelter, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was Vrishabhanu. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was Vrishabhanu, he appeared as Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Jaghdish Pandit is Radharani herself. So ultimately, Jaghdish Pandit, he took shelter of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada, he is very personal in Chaitanya Caritāmrita purports. Many times he writes what is happening in in the society, what is, what is the mood which all the devotees have, and what he's going through, how he's not so happy, and how he's very proud of his disciples, how some of the god brothers, they are not doing right things. So many intimate things Prabhupada writes in this Chaitanya Charitamrita purports, because this is the heart of Prabhupada, and therefore he's expressing his heart very nicely in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's why Prabhupada would tell many times that this is the most important book. And one time, Srila Prabhupada, he was there in Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, there was a sweet shop. And in the morning, the first set of sweets, he would distribute free to all the people who would come. So devotees in Vrindavan, they knew where to go after Mangalarti. Every day they would be there at this sweet shop, and it was a Bengali sweet shop. So one day it so happened that all these devotees, they were standing and eating all the rasgulla, rasmalai and everything. And they saw Prabhupada is coming in his car. And then they were shocked. Abhi kya kare? Abhi pocket money dal sakte, it's all dripping. So they were just standing there. And then Prabhupada's car passed by and they had a sigh of relief. Bach gaye. And then the car went ahead and then stopped and then came back. Prabhupada rolled down the window and then he said, "Oh, Bengali sweets, best for health." And everybody said, "Jai Prabhupada." And then Prabhupada left. Then after a few months, there was a book distribution going on in Delhi. And Prabhupada was there. So one of the devotees, who was there in this Vrindavan Leela pastime, he was there. So he thought, oh, Prabhupada had told that Bengali sweets best. So he, brought some Bengali sweets from nearby shop. And then he offered to Prabhupada and said, and Prabhupada, he took Chaitanya Charitamrita and he said, "This is the best Bengali sweet." So that's how for Prabhupada, Chaitanya Charitamrita is a life and soul. That is the only book apart from Bhagavatam. He took Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada writes in his diary of Jaladuta that this Chaitanya Charitamrita is giving me solace in this difficult situation. This book is giving me solace. So that's how Prabhupada is, again and again describing the details of so many things. He describing how his childhood, he describes how his devotees, they came to India first. So many detailed, intimate things Prabhupada has described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kaviraj Goswami continues, the 27th prominent devotee of Nithyananda Prabhu was Acharya Vaishnavananda. He was formerly known as Raghunath Puri. And who was Raghunath Puri? Very interesting. He was the incarnation of one of the mystic siddhis. So he is mystic siddhi personified, Raghunath Puri. Another devotee is Vishnu Das. He had two brothers, Nandan and Gangadas. Sometimes Nithyananda Prabhu would stay in their house. And then another Paramanand Upadhyay. Then there was another devotee, Jiva Pandit. He was a gopi called as Indira Gopi, and he had wonderful qualities, super excellent qualities, and he was such a wonderful servitor of Lord Nityananda. And then there was another devotee called Paramananda Gupta. He was Manju Medha Gopi, and he was very, very elevated in spiritual consciousness. Very wonderful. And Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu would reside in his house also for some time. Then after that, Kaviraj Goswami just gives a list of so many devotees from 32nd to 75th branch. Kaviraj Goswami doesn't describe them much. He just gives the names of all these devotees. So we'll just read the name of all these devotees. Narayan, Krishnadas, Manohar, Devanand. They are always engaged in service of Lord Nityananda. Then there was another personality, Hoda Krishnadas. For him, Nityananda Prabhu was his life and soul. He knew nothing but him. So, this theme is coming again and again. For these devotees, Nithyananda Prabhu was life and soul. They were always engaged in service of Nithyananda Prabhu. So that's the mood of the devotees of the Lord. That for them, Nithyananda Prabhu is their life and soul, everything. And we see in the life of Prabhupada disciples, for them, Srila Prabhupada was their everything. Whatever Prabhupada would do, whatever Prabhupada would tell, they were ready to do it. For them, Prabhupada was their life and soul. You know the story of Yamuna Mataji and one more Malti Mataji, I think. They were there traveling in train with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Oh, it would have been very nice if I can get hot rice." So in the middle of the running train, where you'll get hot rice? So they went these two American ladies, they went to the compartment pantry and they are telling, "We want to cook for our spiritual master." And this person, he didn't take them seriously. He said, "No, we can't do it." And they said, "If you don't allow us, we will jump off this train." And then they became fearful. And then they allowed him. And then he allowed them. So that's how they were ready to do anything for Srila Prabhupada. And that's how they became so very empowered. So that is a secret. If somebody is ready to do anything and everything for the pleasure of Lord Nityananda, Lord Caitanya, for Srila Prabhupada and all the Acharya Vrinda, then they are empowered. So that's how all these devotees, they are so very empowered. Then Kaviraj Goswami gives the list of so many devotees, and in that list there is the Sridhar, who was another Gopal, the 12th Gopal. So there are 12 prominent associates of Nityananda Prabhu who appeared as Gopal. Who were they? Ramadas was the first one. Then Sundarananda was the second one. He was Sudama. Ramadas was Sridama. Then Mahabal was the third Gopal. He was Kamalakar Pippalai. Then Gauridas Pandit, he was Subal. He was the fourth. Then Parameshwar Das, he was Arjun, the fifth Gopal. Then Dhananjay Pandit was Vasudam, the sixth one. Then Mahesh Pandit was the seventh. Purushottam Pandit was the eighth. Stoka Krishna. Ninth Gopal was Kala Krishnadas or Kalia Krishnadas. He was Lavanga Gopa. Then Purushottam Das was the 10th one. Then Uddharan Dutt was the 11th one. His name was Subhahu. And the 12th one was Sridhar. So apart from that, there are so many other devotees which Kaviraj Goswami names. From 32nd to 75th branch, names after names are given. Mukunda, Surya, Madhav, Ramananda, Jagannath, Mahidhar, Srimanta, Gokuladas, Hariharananda, Shivaya, Nandaya, Avadhut Paramananda, Vasanta, Navani Hoda, Gopala, Sanatan, Vishnai, Krishnananda, Sulochana, Kansari. Kansari was Ratnavali Gopi. Then Ramasena, Ramachandra Kaviraj, Govinda, Sriranga, Mukunda, Pitambar, Madhavacharya, Damodar Das, Shankara, Mukunda, Gyanadas, Manohara, Gopal, Ramabhadra, Gauranga Das, Narsimha Chaitanya, and the 75th one was a very, very wonderful devotee, Meenaketan Ramdas. And we have heard about Meenaketan Ramdas. You know, when Kaviraj Goswami describes about him, that Kaviraj Goswami, he had a younger brother. He was having a very nice faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was not having that much faith in Nityananda Prabhu. One time, this Meenaketan Ramdas, he came and he was staying in the place of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And there he could understand that this brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj, he is not having that much faith in Nityananda Prabhu. So seeing this, Meenaketan Ramdas, he became so angry. As a small cowherd boy, you know, he was in the mood of that cowherd boy. He, broke his flute and he went away. And because of this offense to Nityananda Prabhu, Kaviraj Goswami says, my brother fell down. Anyone who accepts Chaitanya Mahaprabhu but doesn't accept Nityananda Prabhu, he is a demon. That's what he says. So that is me, Niketan Ramdas. Then another very great devotee who is another very great branch of Nityanand Prabhu. Who is he? That is Vrindavan Das Thakur, the son of Narayani. He is the same personality who composed Chaitanya Mangal, later known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Kaviraj Goswami describes in detail, verses after verses, glorifying Chaitanya Bhagavat and glorifying Vrindavan Das Thakur. Bhagavate Krishna Lila Varnila Veda Vyas, Chaitanya Lila Te Vyasa Vrindavan Das. Just like Krishna was described by Ved Vyas in Bhagavatam, similarly, Vrindavan Das is the Vyas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Who was this Vrindavan Das? He is the combined incarnation of Vyasdev and another Gopa, Kusuma Pid. In the 8th chapter also we have heard in great detail about Vrindavan Das Thakur. Kaviraj Goswami describes in detail about him. Ore Mudhaloka Shuna Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Mahimayate Jani Be Sakal. Oh foolish people, please hear Chaitanya Mangal. Now, which author will do that? Chastising, why are you reading my book? Who will do that? But that is a faith Kaviraj Goswami had. Oh, if you read Chaitanya Bhagavat, everything will be successful. Chaitanya Nitaya Yate Janiye Mahima, Yate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhante Rasima. If you read Chaitanya Mangal, you will know all the Siddhanta. Bhagavate Yat Siddhanta Bhakti ya Bhagavate Yat Bhakti Siddhante Rasar Likhiya Chena Iha Jani Koriya Uddhar. All the philosophy of Bhagavatam is explained in Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das. So therefore, this Bhagavatam is not an ordinary, Chaitanya Bhagavat is not an ordinary book. Manushya Rachite Nare Aiche Grantha Dhanya Vrindavan Das Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya. So Mahaprabhu is himself writing this book through Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das Pade Koti Namaskar, Aiche Granth Kori Te Ho Tarila Samsar. He delivered the entire world by writing this literature. So that's how Vrindavan Das is described. And then after describing so many devotees of Lord Nityananda, in the end, Kaviraj Goswami is again summarizing, and he says that Veerbhadra Goswami is the topmost branch. Yesterday we discussed, he is the pillar of the Bhakti Mandapa. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has made a hall of devotional service, and in that the main pillar is Veerbhadra Goswami. And there are unlimited other branches. Ananta Nityananda Gana Ke Karu Ganan Atma Pavitrita Hetu Likhilat Katajan. Again he is telling the same thing. Atma Pavitrita Hetu. Ananta Chaitanya Gana Ke Karu Ganan Apana Shodhite Kari Mukhya Mukhya Jan. That's how he started. Again he is writing the same thing. Ananta Nityananda Gan. The devotees of Lord Nityananda are unlimited. I am writing few of them just to purify myself. Atma Pavitrata Hetu. So there also Prabhupada writes that all activities of Krishna consciousness should be done in this mood. I am doing it for my own purification, not for anyone's benefit. Of course, people get benefited, they will become devotees, but that should not be the mood. I am going to deliver the entire world. No. I am doing it for myself. Ei sarva shakha purna pakva prema phale yare dekhe tare diya bhasaila sakale. So all these branches, all these devotees of Lord Nityananda, they are full of ripened fruits of love of Krishna. And how they are distributing? Yara dekhe tare diya. Anybody whom they are seeing, they are giving this love of God. That's the instruction of Mahaprabhu. Yare dekhe tare kaho Krishna upadesh, amara agya guru hoiya tare hi desh. So all the devotees of Nithyananda, they are doing the same thing. And these devotees, they are so powerful. They have such intense love that nobody can understand. Even Ananta Shesh with his thousands of mouths cannot glorify Nityananda Prabhu's devotees. And they have the power to give Krishna to each and everyone. Anargal prema sabara cheshta anargal prema dite Krishna dite dhare mahabal. Anargal prema cheshta. Their prem, their love for Krishna is unlimited. Anargal prema sabar cheshta anargal. And their love for Krishna, their desire to give Krishna to others is unlimited. That is our hope. Prema dite, Krishna dite, dhare sarvabal, mahabal. They can give Krishna. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara shakati ache. Ami to kangala, Krishna Krishna boli, dhai tab pache pache. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this bhajan. Krishna is yours, O Vaishnava Thakur, you can give Krishna to me. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite par. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport, only devotee can give Krishna. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. So after describing all the devotees, Kaviraj Goswami ends this chapter by telling, I have described just the synopsis, briefly described. Sangshepe kohila ei Nityananda gan, yahara avadhina pai sahasravadan. Even Shesha cannot describe all of them. I have just described a few prominent ones. The devotees of Lord Nityananda are unlimited. And that's how he ends this chapter, by glorifying and offering obeisances at the lotus feet of Rupa Raghunath. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yar As Chaitanya Charitāmrta Kahe Krishna Das. So that's how he ends this chapter. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitāmrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai.